All right, we've got Rodney Hide on because we talked to former National MP Matt King, who is formulating or forming a new party called Democracy New Zealand. He received in the mail a trespass notice from the office of the Speaker, Trevor Mallard, yesterday. We also understand that Stephen Franks has been told that he will be trespassed from Parliament for 2 years because they both attended the protest on the lawn of Parliament. Rodney, I know you also attended that protest.
Happily.
But you have been looking at the legality of the Speaker of the New Zealand Parliament trespassing people from the grounds of Parliament. What have you found? What is your opinion of the legality of this trespass notice?
Well, it's clearly unlawful. It's clearly stupid. It's clearly an outrage, and I think it's a hoax. You know, I don't think anyone working in parliamentary services or the Speaker, notwithstanding his recent behaviour, would be as stupid as to attempt to ban anyone, any member of the public, from the grounds of Parliament for 2 years. It can't be done.
I have sent you what Matt King sent to me, the trespass notice. It looks completely legitimate.
Well,
we also have this report from Stephen Franks that he was told by the Speaker 2 weeks ago he was going to be trespassed.
Have you had it confirmed from the Speaker's office? Or
we
from
have
Bridget
asked the Speakers, and I want to report this, we have asked the Speaker, no comment from the Speaker's office, but that is no denial that he has done this. And I would imagine if he had not, he would say, I have not done this. It has been widely reported, and there has been no denial from the Speaker's office. TV1 has got confirmation. TV1 has got confirmation that this is a real trespass notice, Rodney.
Well, I hope I get one, because if I get one, I'll be emailing the Speaker, and I'll be saying I'll be standing on the Parliament grounds at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, or whatever the flight is that I can get to go to Wellington. Please come and arrest me. Because it is impossible. And let me explain why. Historically, the grounds it's a very interesting thing, the Parliament grounds, because the law doesn't quite apply there. It's under the control of the Speaker. And it was gifted by the Queen, because it's our Parliament, and it was gifted by the Queen to be our Parliament. And then the Speaker, he's not the representative of the government. He's the representative of the Parliament by the people, and he or she is in control of the grounds. I initially thought last night when I spoke to you that the Trespass Act doesn't apply, but certainly it does. In 2000, the Parliamentary Services Act was passed, and that allows the Speaker to operate Parliament under the Trespass Act. However, it has been to court, and the court is very clear about this. This particular case would be well known to the government because it involved Chris Hipkins when he was a student. And I remember it, and you'll remember it also, because back in 1997, the students were upset about something. They were protesting, and Doug Kidd had some arrested. It went through the courts, and the courts found in the students' favour. The arrest was unlawful, and Chris Hipkins, and along with others, were compensated for being arrested. And the point of it is,
Smith or the then Speaker have to issue an apology?
Yes, first time ever that the New Zealand Speaker has ever issued an apology.
Okay, and this went to the Court of Appeal. It was upheld by the District Court in the students' favour, and then an appeal that was upheld by the Court of Appeal. This was Police versus Beggs, 1999, if any students of law want to look up the case.
Yes. I don't know if it went to the Court of Appeal. I thought it was the High Court, or something like that. But anyway, the point of it is, it's very clear.
Go to the Court of Appeal, Rodney. Yeah.
Okay. The point of it is this: is that because the Speaker is operating a public place, it's not like a private piece of land. And so, as a landowner here, I can keep anyone off my property. I can issue them a trespass notice and say, you're not to come on here for 2 years. I don't even need a reason, because this is my land and I've trespassed you and you're not allowed to come on. Now, with a piece of land and the Speaker, the Bill of Rights kicks in. And the Bill of Rights says I have freedom of movement, I have freedom of expression, I can protest, And the courts jealously guard this for Parliament. And so it is.
And in fact, I think the courts in this case said that that right to protest is one of the most fundamental and important rights in a democracy.
Fundamental right, and you don't have a absolute right to go to Parliament, right? So if you behave badly, took all your clothes off or erected a tent or whatever, you can be moved. You can be issued with a trespass order and moved. But the courts would frown and declare totally unreasonable if you ban someone for 2 years because you're banning their right to protest, you're banning their right to engage in what would you'd normally think would be a democratic society. And of course,
to simply access a public place.
Absolutely. And of course, this gets to the heart of the matter also. What's the bad behaviour here, right? Matt King did nothing wrong. The courts would look at this, they'd toss it out, same as me. We did nothing wrong. We can walk in there. I was never trespassed. What can they do to us if we walk into Parliament? I doubt the police would arrest us. I'd be astonished if they did. It would go to court and it would be thrown out and they'd be made fools. I think it is so stupid. I still think it's a hoax.
Rodney, how could you issue this trespass notice as the Speaker of Parliament through parliamentary services without being aware of this precedent case in 1999 involving Chris Hipkins? And also, given I understand that David McGee, former clerk of the House, has and basically the guru of parliamentary procedure, has made it quite clear, I think in a book he wrote or in procedure, that the Speaker can't do this.
No, and so David McGee was the preeminent Speaker in New Zealand. He was widely regarded throughout the Commonwealth. He wrote the textbook Parliamentary Practice in New Zealand. It's online. He has a chapter that, yes, he says, there's a limited ability for the Speaker. He was relying on Begg 1999 in his 4th edition. And he said, you just can't do this, or he implied it. It never occurred to him that anyone would ban someone from the grounds for 2 years. And of course, Matt King was no threat or disruption to anyone. Now, it would be impossible. I understand Trevor Mallard doing stupid things in the spur of the moment. We've all done that. And Trevor Mallard's done more than most, right? Because he can be hot-headed and make a mistake on the spur of the moment. But this isn't the spur of the moment thing. This is a considered thing. This isn't like, saying I'll turn the sprinklers on or I'll play stupid music. Now, this is a considered thing. And then he's gone and got I think the head of security, what Bridget Lloyd is or something like that. They have such weird titles now. It's hard to understand what they actually are, to issue that letter. Well, if she's at all capable, she would check with the clerk, she would check with legal scholars, and they'd say, don't be mad. You cannot.
But we have to put this in the context, Rodney, of a Speaker who falsely accused a man of being a rapist, destroyed his career, and has cost the taxpayers hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in putting that gross mistake right.
Yes. No. Sometimes it's hard to understand how people can be so nasty. And
all right.
I get stupid and nasty. I mean, on the spur of the moment, we've all said stupid things, but the Speaker Mallard never corrected that, and he could have. He could have come out and said, look, I overstepped the mark, I fulsomely apologise, but he stuck to his guns, and that was what was terrible about that. And reminding me of that suggests to me that anything's possible. But it is so appalling. I would expect, if true, I'd expect Bridget Lloyd to be fired, and I'd expect the Speaker to have a vote of no confidence and it to win.
Well, that's been tried before, Rodney. If you were bush lawyering or taking a fee as a lawyer for Matt King, what would your advice be to him right now? Oh,
I would see it as a golden opportunity. I don't particularly, want any political mileage, but, Matt is thinking of a party or has a party. boy, I'd do what, I always ask myself in these situations, what would Winston do? And I mean, Winston would be on Parliament grounds 10 o'clock tomorrow with the TV cameras in tow and hopefully being arrested and demanding that this is the people's place. The Speaker is there not as a government representative, not as Parliament's representative, but the people's representative. The Parliament is a sacred place constitutionally. This institution goes back 1,000 years. Men and women have fought and died for our parliamentary democracy. It is a house of representatives. You can't willy-nilly ban someone from standing on the ground and legitimately protesting. If you're doing that, my goodness, we have fallen so far down a totalitarian fascist state. I shouldn't use that word because it gets so glibly thrown around. But that's what it is. Our parliamentary democracy is crucial to us, and it's never been questioned, but this questions it.
Okay, Trevor Mallard's not going to front on this issue, but I am going to play devil's advocate with you. And because he's not here, I can only surmise what his argument might be. And I'm suggesting in the age of political correctness, he believes that Matt King is someone who espouses views which are misinformation, particularly his attitude to vaccines and on COVID-19, which of course we assume was associated with whatever was driving that protest at Parliament. So he might represent this decision, clearly an erroneous decision under law to trespass Matt King, and that he wants to shut down a political party or a person who might aid to misinformation or misinform people about the value of vaccines and the public health measures that have been undertaken in terms of COVID-19. That is, I think, what Trevor Mallard would use to justify his illegal actions. Your response to that?
Well, in this COVID madness that we've all had to endure, that's quite possible because, we know that you can't express an alternate view. You used to have the right to be wrong in this great country. And when it comes to COVID, you don't have that right to be wrong. You are shut down, you're denigrated, and you're destroyed. Even professional people are shut down, denigrated, and destroyed. Journalists can't write an alternative story. They're shut down and destroyed. So in that context, I can imagine it. I mean, you can't be a plumber in New Zealand and wander around and say, I think the vaccine's bullshit and COVID's bullshit. You'd probably lose your plumbing license. That's how stupid it's got. So yes, I can imagine Trevor Mallard attempting that. And I can even imagine our courts that are so far down this COVID thing actually upholding it. But if he did that, he'd write the letter, assuming he's got, brains. And my observation of Trevor Mallard when I was in Parliament was that he's a very clever man, actually, but impetuous, but clever. You would write that on the trespass notice. So you'd say, look, you're allowed to come to Parliament. You're just not allowed to spout disinformation because it's a health hazard or whatever the wording is that we use in these COVID propagandized terms. You wouldn't ban him wholeheartedly. So he would be able to go there and say, protest Three Waters, or protest the coming apartheid, or protest the fact that, Maori get an extra vote these days, or an extra say, or you protest.
Or indeed, once it's registered, simply launch his political party.
All of those things you would be able to do on the parliamentary grounds, not just as a former MP, not just as a former policeman that has never been charged of a crime, but as a citizen of New Zealand. Every one of us has that right. There's nothing special about Matt King in this regard. It's just that we know him and we know he's not a threat to civil society, right?
All right.
Even if he was a threat to civil society, I can't imagine you're getting away with banning someone from Parliament for 2 years. This is not the buildings, by the way. This is the grounds that everyone walks through on the way to school.
There were, that I know of, a couple of other former MPs who went to that protest. Winston Peters, I'm not sure if Winston Peters spoke to the protesters. Matt King did. You went down there. Did you speak, or they didn't want you?
Yes, I did. Yes,
and
I
you
did.
Spoke. Okay, so you are in exactly the same boat as Matt King.
Oh, I
So if
probably
you
went
haven't been issued a trespass notice, if you haven't been issued a trespass notice, why not?
Well, because it's a hoax. I just don't believe anyone would be that stupid.
I can tell you it's not, Rodney.
Well,
it might be bizarre and off the planet, but it's not a hoax.
I'm certainly they can find me. I would have gone further in my speech because I supported that protest 100%. It was the greatest thing I've ever seen in New Zealand politically. I thought it was absolutely wonderful. And I consider our parliament to be a total disgrace that we've locked people up, we've denied kids access to sport and to culture and to libraries, and that we have done this for the flimsiest reasons. And when the people rose up and said this is unacceptable, not even the opposition would come out and speak to the people who they are supposed to represent. And not only that, they turned the hoses on them, they abused them. I've been abused by my own party. You know, like I'm some sort of mad person because I believe if you're a libertarian like me, you can't lock people up in their houses. You can't shut down their businesses on a whim for public health purposes. If this COVID was as bad as it was presented to be, they wouldn't need to lock me up at home. I wouldn't be going out. But we know it's been overblown.
Okay, I do not want to get into COVID-19. I want to sum up what you've told us. And I know that you've been looking and reading up on this since the story broke. It is your clear belief that because of the precedent set by Police versus Beggs in 1999, and I'm just going to quote quickly, Rodney, what the district court judge said in rejecting that trespass order from the then speaker. In a free and democratic society, the right to protest is an absolutely fundamental right. The right to protest against political decisions is one of the most precious of our individual freedoms. So we have that precedent. Because it is a public space, not private property, that ruling says the speaker can only trespass when there is imminent threat or danger to public order and someone's got to commit a crime. So you're saying Mallard must have known that. If this is real, parliamentary services could not have missed that or not got that memo. So he has issued a trespass notice, which he knows is unlawful or not supported by the law. And he has still gone ahead and done that. You believe there should be what? A vote of no confidence in him?
Oh, there's got to be. Absolutely.
And that the head of parliamentary security who issued this notice, Bridget Lord, should be fired or disciplined.
Yes. Because, they're not acting on behalf of the people. And Chris Luxon and David Seymour and the Green Party should be all over this, because this isn't about party politics now. This is about what it is to be a New Zealand citizen. This is what it is to be, part of a parliamentary democracy. A bunch of students protesting because they weren't being paid enough money to go and study is, upset a judge. Imagine banning someone from 2 years. That never happened. They were arrested and it was declared unlawful.
And let us remind people, one of those students was Chris Hipkins, the current minister responsible for the COVID issues.
Rodney, very hard to miss this.
Rodney, I thank you very much. I know you've been researching this and we've been talking. If you do get a knock on the door or a trespass notice, please get on the phone. I want me to be your first call.
You will be.
I
love what you're doing, Sean. I think you're going to make a big difference to New Zealand. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much indeed. Rodney Hide there speaking to us from Arrowtown in central Otago. Don't forget, we will be probably taking out the technical problems we had at the top of this interview. It'll be on our website. That is theplatform.kiwi. You'll also be able to get it through the app, which we launched yesterday, and you can download on Google Store and the App Store. That is the platform. Search the platform, you'll find it. And we are going live to air a 7 in the morning till 6 in the evening talk radio lineup. That starts 7 o'clock next Monday morning on May the 9th. And you will get it by downloading the app and listening through your phone and your Bluetooth devices. Thanks again to Rodney Hide. We will stay across this story. I think it's important to our democracy. Have a great Tuesday. We will talk to you again soon. Ka kite ana.